what are the plans of KMRL for Kochi, what are the lessons that we learned in its implementation, and to end up with a kind of flavor of the kind of entrepreneurial opportunities that the metro is going to open out for people in this area. I will try to do justice to his very rigid framework, but I'm a babu and I'm not a great one for entrepreneurial opportunities, Rajesh, but I'll try. As I just counted today, there are 206 metros in the world. There are some fabulous sites which tabulate everything you need to know about a metro. The latest count is 206. Cochin has not made it to that list yet, so 207 actually. And only about less than 10 make a profit. Hong Kong Metro makes about 7 billion Hong Kong dollars profit because, as many of you have seen, there are 200-story buildings above the stations. And the rental income, as well as the big crowds on the metro, really make it a very, very profitable enterprise. Tokyo makes huge profits because it's like there are pushers on the trains to push people into the metro. That's the kind of footfalls they get. But still, cities over the world are falling over each other to build metros. In India, we are the 8th metro to become operational, 8 are under construction. Mr. Modi now has very audacious target of 50 cities to be given metros. He actually mentioned it in his speech here when he came to launch our metro. So it's a huge urban transformation around this metro rail system happening in India. And India is going to become the leading market for metro companies worldwide. I don't know whether you know also that the Sydney metro coaches are being made in Chennai. Nobody knows it. Sydney is getting one of the most advanced coaches, similar to us, a little more advanced. They're all being made in Chennai. And 80% of these coaches, including the Kochi one, is indigenized. I think Qatar is also being supplied from India. Bombardier is supplying coaches globally from somewhere in Baroda and so on. So we are becoming a center of action in the urban transit space. And this is something which we've not so much known in the media and so on. So why do metros, cities and state governments and countries go in for metros despite the huge bleeding of the exchequer? They are inherently unviable because of the cost. It's about 2,000 million Indian rupees per kilometer for an elevated metro. And if you go underground, it's a multiplication factor of about 6. Very expensive systems, but still, why do cities do this? First thing is that it brings about urban transit. The urban public transportation system has accreted over time. Earlier you had the roads, then the horse buggy, then the cars came. Few cities like Paris under Baron Haussmann in the 19th century got a chance to completely smash and redo their entire, that's why Paris has got such lovely avenues. That's a fabulous theoretical city planning was done in the city of Paris under Napoleon III by Baron Haussmann. Those are very, very rare examples. Otherwise, all these urban transit systems are accreted. Now, once a metro comes, there's a lot of change going to happen. Out of 1,400 buses plying in the city of Cochin area, about 400 are going to get very badly affected by the metro. So basically, there is a pressing compulsion for the urban planners and the transport planners to sit together and redo the entire architecture around the advent of the metro. And that's a great opportunity to modernize the whole system. So a lot of creative destruction takes place once a metro comes into being. That's one great advantage, which Kochi is also going to, we're just starting that whole transformation process now. Second thing is there's an expansion of time. The metro runs from 6 in the morning till 11 at night. We can always extend it whenever, depending on the traffic. So working hours and socializing hours really get enhanced, especially for women and children. There is a movement in Bangalore and Kochi also reclaiming the night for women. You don't see women out because you can't go home safely if you're out after 8 o'clock at night. Once the metro system comes, your daughter or wife can go to Lulu and see a third show. Now there are shows at 1 o'clock in the morning, I believe, and go home whenever in the metro, on the last train or the metro train safely because the metro is a very safe environment. Likewise for children. So what's going to happen? The time available to you for working and for socializing and for play really gets expanded. And that's one thing which affects the life of every citizen in a town where a metro comes. Entire work patterns and social life revolves around the metro timings. And metro timings are very precise. If the train is supposed to come at 7:02, it does come at 7:02. So subconsciously and gradually you start getting more Cartesian in your behavior. You start aligning your schedules. I'll take the 7:02 train and meet somebody at 7:05. We never have this time consciousness, what the French call this Cartesian approach in the Indian psyche. And metros do really bring it. I think somebody's done a study of the changes that people's behavior happened after the Delhi metro. So it's a very, very important change which can happen in positive externalities is what the economists call this. Then, of course, the metro-induced investments are there in real estate. You have these flats advertising 2 kilometers from Palalivattam station and so on. A lot of investment. Tourism is a great beneficiary because it raises the city's brand equity in a big way. And also the service sector around the metro and so on. Then this I mentioned, the civic culture, civitas, better behavior. People have naturally a psychological tendency to behave better in a better environment. In our metro system, I was very pleased after 1 month, there's hardly any littering except at the exit gates, our dustbins took a little time to come. Some people ditched the tickets at the exit, but otherwise it's kept spotlessly clean. We're very pleased to see that if somebody bins something on the ground, other people ask him to pick it up, etc. So really, there's a lot of pride in this. And this kind of civic culture emanates outside the metro system slowly. The behavior improves, the system improves, the surroundings improve, and so on. Improvement in behavior. The great sense of Indians have very little pride in common spaces. What the economists call the tragedy of the commons is particularly acute in Kerala. Common spaces are used as dumping grounds. Vembanad Lake is a huge dumping ground for plastic bottles now. So one of the ways to avert the tragedy of the commons in urban spaces is to have modern, lovely systems like metros, where people see the benefits of better behavior. So these are the kind of unforeseen advantages that metros bring into cities. Then, of course, what the urbanists call the new urbanism, which is basically compressing your working spaces, your play spaces, your walking spaces into smaller areas. The earlier 1950s American urbanists said that you live in the suburbs and commute 30 kilometers by car, etc. Those days are dead now. Now the whole idea is that all your human requirements should be met within a, say, 3 or 4 kilometer radius. And one of the things that's happening is that around the metro stations, a new urbanism develops. There are little shops there. No, it doesn't take much time to walk from the station to your house or the office. So a lot of walkability comes in. All you need is around a metro station, etc. These metro stations are going to become nuclei of little urban developments which will take care of basically all the things that a human being normally needs in the course of his daily intercourse. Then, of course, mixed-use developments. Walkways and cycle paths are very important corollaries of a metro system because the last mile is basically less than 500 meters to your house or to your office, etc. So you really need to, again, induce development where people can go back to walking and cycling in the metro cities, which we are also trying to do in a small way. And the Panampilly Nagar was a pilot, which we are now, another one has started from the Ernakulam boat jetty to the Maharaja station. That work is in progress, and we are going to do it in a couple of other places also, just as a demonstration. Then, of course, metro cities become global cities, huge kind of branding. Brand equity of Kochi will really go up once a metro comes. Huge tourism benefits. And we are deliberately trying to make the entire metro structure a focus of touristic interest, where a lot of visual delight, a lot of sights and sounds and smells, and a lot of literature is going to come up on the metro system, so that they are a tourist attraction by themselves. So a lot of all this is subsumed under that rubric which the economists call a positive externalities, and this is what the investment in the metro system brings to a city. In sum, it elevates the city's profile globally. It also improves lifestyles and working habits and social habits and behaviors in a city, which is why this investment of 10,000 crore or 100,000 million INR into Kochi city's transportation system will be worthwhile in my view. It's a lot of money which our children have to pay because these loans have tenures of 20 to 25 years. And funding is important. Government gives you the funding, but the financing part has to be done very, very carefully. When I came and joined Metro exactly 5 years ago on August 12th, the thought then was that we'd go for JICA funding, the Japanese aided funds. That very month that I joined, they changed their policy and said, we'll give you funding. Japanese loans are very cheap, but you got to buy Japanese equipment. So we said nothing doing. The government of India also said nothing doing because Japanese equipment is very expensive in the transportation space, all the Mitsubishi and stuff. So a couple of 6 months, we didn't know what to do. When knocking at various doors, and luckily we had a very good dialogue with the French, and they got one of the cheapest loans that ever possible. And so the European loans are very, very cheap for India now because it's about 1.5% interest. And we did an exercise. If the rupee behaves vis-a-vis with the euro as it did over the last 30 years, the domestic rate comes to only about 4.5%. But the way India is growing and whether Europe is not growing so much, by the time the loan is repaid, I think it's going to be a zero loan or even a negative one. But that is, of course, conjecture. But it's really India, Kerala, I don't want to go into controversy. KIFBI is doing some of the sourcing. But I really believe that we should not look at the complex or the color of the cat, as somebody said, Mao said, and should go for these European loans because they make a lot of financial sense for us. Then, of course, we need a lot of supplementary revenue sources for financial architecture. One is transit-oriented development, where around the metro stations, a lot of areas have to develop. And some of the revenues coming from that have to be plowed back into the metro. Like the Bangalore Metro says that they give an enhanced FDI, FSI around the metro corridor for 500 meters. And the additional charges for that FSI, a part of it is plowed back into the metro company's balance sheet. Then land grants. The government of Kerala has given us 18 acres of fabulous land at Kakanad, where those old quarters are there. And what we are planning is we are going to do real estate, where we are confident that we can give the best possible fittings and flats, but small area like European flats, 1,000, 1,200 square feet, the highest quality, about 2,000 or 2,500 rupees below what the front runners in the flat space are selling now. And we think this is going to be a huge, there's going to be a huge demand for it because A, we are clean dealers, we got the KMRL brand equity, and we can give a young couple, so say for 30 lakhs, a kind of level of sophistication in our flats, which are only the best guys in Kerala can provide now. And we're just working on that, the bids are out, etc. So that is one thing which is going to give us a constant revenue stream. Then, of course, the essential loans have to be there. Then you need to tie up common infra-sharing arrangements to lessen your costs, like roads and so on. Tax waivers. The Delhi Metro has got huge tax waivers from the government of India and the government of Delhi. We haven't got anything yet, but this is something which cities need to do because finally the kind of benefits I talked about will come only if you have these kind of palliatives from the governments. Then, of course, one very essential thing is all these European loans, wherever you go for a lending, you require a sovereign guarantee, which the government of India normally gives once they approve a project. Then this public-private options, PPPs, including HAM. HAM is a hybrid annuity model, which was developed by the National Highways because their earlier PPP model failed. Which HAM basically says that 40% of the cost of the project the government will give to the private concessionaire upfront. The rest 60% will be staggered over a period of time, etc. It's now working. PPPs have a very bad history in India, as you know. The airport link line of Delhi Metro was a huge failure. I must be very careful here. It was developed by Mr. Mukesh Ambani. He put in an equity of 100 crore and now he's made a claim of 3,400 crore for that equity he's put in. I will stop here, but there's a CAG report about the airport line which is available online. It will be very educative. Not to blame anybody, but to see how PPPs should not be structured in India because they private partners do a lot of gold plating. They take their money, put it in and take out the money upfront, etc. But basically we are working on it. In India, it's the largest PPP market in the world. It's going to be the largest PPP market in the world for the next 20 years. To be fair to Indian PPP system, other countries have not reached the level of sophistication that PPPs have acquired in India. So this is one way out for public infrastructure like metros that we can do. So this is what I said, it's about 100,000 million INR. It's a lot of money for a tiny city like Kochi. And I mentioned all this. So basically when we started Kochi Metro, we thought we'll only do the metro, build the metro, run the metro. Then we realized that the metro has to be a lever, a tool for creative destruction of the whole system, which is a very tough challenge. And this is much more tough than building a metro. Is very easy. The civil work will be done by L&Ts. All the sophisticated electronics will be done by these foreign companies. It's all foreign, like Alstom and so on. Many of it manufactured in India, but the software part, restructuring, re-engineering the public transportation system is a killer. And this, KMRL success will be measured by how the city's public transportation system will look like after 2 or 3 years. So basically, what you must have seen this umta thing in the media. Basically, what we are trying to do is that the entire public transportation system, that's the metro, the water metro, the buses, taxis and autos should work as a completely seamless integrated system with a common timetable, a common network and a common command and control center. The command and control center is already up and running. We got a very James Bond movie headquarters type command and control center in the Muttam yard, which is really state of the art, where you can see 98% of the metro system from our screens, which is also very good for security. Other things are under construction. And one of the great things about our UMTA, which really heartened, really lifted my spirits, was the fact there are 1,400 buses in Kochi region. The bus owners are so keen on this because they see an opportunity and a risk. They banded together into 6 companies. And one of the, again, huge benefits of this is the Malsara Otam will stop. This racing, death races on the roads will stop because these companies are going to share the profits and losses. So the routes become agnostic for them. They don't, the other bus makes a profit, you get a part of it. They're all ready now. And the only thing which we are waiting for is UMTA bill to be approved by the State Assembly. Once that happens, Kochi will become the first city in India where the entire public transport system is seamlessly integrated with a common ticket, that Kochi One card, and the app. I'm sure some of you would have seen it and used it, can be used on all these transportation modes. And you can see the vehicle, the bus or the boat or the metro on your phone through our app. You can see its physical dot on the phone and plan your journey accordingly. We also want to make the public transportation experience feature-rich. Wi-Fi on the metro and the buses. Click and collect, where we can order things online and pick it up from the metro station or the bus stop. And a lot of information and entertainment. The Wi-Fi would have been ready now. We got into some issues where the metros all Wi-Fi run. Metro's Wi-Fi is interfering with this Wi-Fi, so we are trying to sort it out. Once that is done, we'll have a free Wi-Fi on the metro for at least 30 minutes. The 7 societies have already been formed. They've all registered and they're starting functioning now. So that is what it is. And we already tried Wi-Fi on couple of buses. We also found that the entire bandwidth was consumed very quickly. Then we found the driver and conductor were misusing it to watch movies. These are things which you have to work on. And one of the horrible statistics about Kochi is that, you look at the number of vehicles moving in the city a day. 4% of the mobiles, the things which move around in a city, carry 50% of the passengers. These are the buses. So basically, the buses which consume only 4% of the number of vehicles moving carry half the load. Basically, it's a huge skew in favor of the buses, and the buses actually should get more priority because of that. There is no road democracy in everything in Kerala, socialist democratic, but this is something which our planners and the politicians have not seen. Which is why the things like BRT, the bus rapid transport corridors, are so required. You must give some kind of priority to buses because they carry half the people moving in the city a day. This I mentioned. And one of the things is that Kochi is one city in India where this UMTA is doable. The people are enlightened. The bus owners have come on board. KMRL is there to do the back ending for you. It's a small city. Delhi you can't do UMTA because it's like it's like multitudes. You just cannot do it there. It's all doable here. We just want the political will and the act to get, and the kids, my kids in KMRL will do the rest for you, along with the bus owners and so on. We are hoping that in about 2 years' time, you will find the public transport system so seamless and convenient and comfortable and feature-rich that traveling within the city, people like Mr. Jose Dominic will not take out his car and take the metro to go from his hotel to come to the city and so on, metro or the bus, because everything is going to be seamlessly integrated. This is the vision we have. We'll fail in many ways, but we'll succeed in many ways also. And one very important thing, the world-class walkways and bicycle paths are really going to happen very soon. I think I got some pictures here down the line also. And the most important junction in Kerala is Edappally Junction in terms of the traffic and the economic and commercial load in that particular locus, in that particular point. Likewise, Alwaye. We have managed to coax the state government into giving us 160 crore now, which will be repaid along with the duration. And the French are also funding it, where we are going to really make some fabulous junctions, world-class junctions, incorporating the latest transportation planning theories, where people will not need to go on top of a walkway to get across. It'll all be light controlled. You can walk across and go to the other side, etc. It's a fabulous design made by the French designers. You would have seen the work has started. We have those KMRL boards in these 2 junctions. Another 6 months' time, Edappally and Alwaye are really going to look completely state-of-the-art, like the walkway which we've done in Panampilly Nagar. So all this is happening. We also done a large number of greening. I think a huge. I think I got the number of plants we planted over the last 2 years somewhere down the line. And also some respect for public spaces and civility in the city. We're also starting these metro clubs, etc., in the schools and colleges where this kind of metro behavior we will try to actively propagate. And these are all on the cards for us. I thought I'll just briefly take a digression to the Kochi Water Metro, because I believe this is going to be the game changer for Kochi, much more than the metro. Between Sydney and Istanbul, there is no urban water transit system worth speaking of. India has neglected urban water passenger transport because why? Because geographically it's available only in Guwahati, Goa and Bombay, or in parts of Kerala. So in the Delhi radar, it's not there at all. When we tried to get funding for the water metro, the Ministry of Urban Development, which is our parent ministry, said, what water metro? It's not on the horizon. Luckily, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu had the vision to get my proposal approved. Once this comes, we'll have about 80 fast craft and about 40 modern jetties with, again, Wi-Fi, the same kind of metro station experience in all these islands where the poorer communities live, Mulavagad and so on the north part of the Kochi Lake or the Vembanad Lake, where tremendous amount of tourism and investment benefits are going to come. The turnaround time is very high in Kochi. Boats keep maneuvering around for 10 minutes, etc. These are auto-docking systems where the fiberglass boat comes and docks in a computer control system, and the jetty will be there. One of the serious problems we are facing is that these jetties are owned by other people. Some belong to the Panchayat, some belong to the port, KSINC, Water Transport Department. They have their own system, boats plying there. Now, how to sort of meld our modern system with the primitive system is a huge technical challenge which we are grappling with, but we'll get around it. I think the first boats are going to hit the water in February of 2019, about a year and a half from now. And this is the plan. All the Firangis and the designers are all at work. We are making the procurement documents now. We are going to go for a global bid for the boats. We had a huge battle in KMRL about whether to go for steel boats or fiberglass. Because steel is very robust and proven. Fiberglass, you've got to be very careful about the manufacture and the operation and maintenance. But finally, we've chosen to go for fiberglass, like in the very modern cities. It's a risk, but we thought we should take that risk because they're much more efficient and cost-effective. So we are also going to go for a hub and spoke kind of model for the water metro, where some of the jetties will be like airports, mother loads for the smaller jetties in the smaller areas. It's also a lifestyle improvement project in that these are poor communities. Women from there come and work in, say, Shimati or something and go back at night taking 5 buses. So we want to ensure a seamless transportation experience from the CBD, from the Central Business District, MG Road, to their houses. So we're going to have lit roads for them to walk back from the jetties to their main areas, landscaping, so on and so forth. We are also helping these panchayats to make their urban plans in a more scientific way. Because 20% of the urban sprawl of Kochi is underwater, and that's something which we've neglected. And that will really make the city bloom, is what we believe. Kochi is Kochi only because of the water, because of Muziris, the harbour. What would Kochi be without this Vembanad Lake? Just another patch of land on this little peninsula of ours. We have a huge speed restriction in Kochi because of the fishermen issues, and rightly so. We cannot go at more than about 8 or 9 knots. But now the boats are plying at 2 knots, so it's a huge 4-fold improvement once our boats come. 78 double-hulled catamarans and 38 floating jetties are what we are planning. This I mentioned, minibuses, electric buses. Same experience, look, feel and ticketing as well. The same travelling experience as the metro is what we are promising to the people here. There's so much of land pressure in Kerala that any amount of public land you have, there are 10 different lobbies wanting to use it for different reasons. And that is something, it's not people's fault, it's something you got to live with. So how do you manage these conflicting objectives and interests, particularly with related to land pressures, is something which has really been tormenting all the infra projects in Kerala. Then of course political pulls and pressures. One single reason why Kochi Metro could become the fastest executed metro in this country was the fact that there was what the Americans call bipartisanship. Both the UDF and the LDF and all of the political parties sort of congealed around the idea that Kochi needs this and nothing should stop it. So nobody dared put up a resistance to it. There was some labor turbulence here and there, but nothing very significant. And also the fact that Dr. Sridharan had such a larger-than-life personality that nobody dared tamper with him. He was like a huge oak tree which protected the project implementing entities. And these two are two very important reasons why we could do the metro without too much of trouble. then divided public opinion, constant flux, and opinions keep changing every 2 weeks on TV. And the TV has become such a huge influence on public life. I keep joking that government is by reaction now. The TV comes out with something today, tomorrow everybody in Secretariat is huddled around trying to see what is the response to it. And then the TV says, no, breaking news and so on. And so this is one, public opinion is so important as reflected through the media. Diverse philosophies. With every shade of political opinion here, you got to pacify them, allay them. Skepticism, it's in the Malayali gene. You know, Metro will never happen. It'll take 100 years. This is all a scam to make money for a few people. You know, the alignment should go this way. I was reading a biography of Sir CP by, I think, one lady who's a later. When he traveled from Chennai to Trivandrum, he took the old MC road. Then the people on the coastal belt said that this is a conspiracy by the Moplas of central Travancore to show him their parts, while the coastal thing was just taking a road to come to Trivandrum became a controversy. So it's there in the gene and the history of Kerala. Then, of course, we have a rampaging media. It's a rampaging, you know, like the most rampaging media in the world is, I think, British. British are very bad in, you know, they take your skin off. And the American late night comics who are now having a feast on Donald Trump, and Kerala is not far behind in that. Then, of course, we have PAP issues, project affected persons issues like the thing which you are seeing in Puduvaipu now. And one of the problems about infra projects is that the benefits are far away. You know, you do a gas storage station, the benefits accrue to Palghat and Bangalore, etc. But all the negative externalities happen to the people in that immediate vicinity. Power plants, coal plants, everywhere. So this is something, even a metro, you know, you have 30 cents of land, the best 20 cents are taken away by the metro authorities. The whole city benefits, the diffused benefits and immediate adverse consequences is something. In crowded areas like Kochi, it's a huge, huge problem. Distrust of government, I mentioned. Environmental sensibility is very huge. One great thing we did was that all the environmental activists you see on TV in the evenings, we put them together and made them a group who will guide us. So instead of us trying to solve a problem, we said, you solve it for us. And that worked very nicely, I must say. And you know, a lot of ego massaging was done. But also, to be fair to them, Metro is a huge carbon footprint reducing vehicle. And these are very smart guys. They realize that once a metro comes, the horrible internal combustion engine use will go down. And they were very supportive and sensible. Then, of course, a very argumentative Malayali scenario. The argumentative Indian by, you know, Amartya Sen. We are the argumentative squared Indians in Kerala. So I used to say, waltzing on glass. We don't know when the glass is going to break. And this is the scenario in Kerala. One of the things I realized while doing this Kochi Metro journey is that DPRs are pathetic in India. It's all flawed. The chaps who author the DPR have no stake in the outcome. It's some other agency always does the DPR. Kochi Metro, DPR says that the metro will carry 390,000 passengers a day. Then, of course, one thing I realized was that project reports need to be dynamic to accommodate changing technologies, changing business requirements and customer demands. Like the Uberization of transportation has led to a lot of changes. And infra projects take some 7 years to complete. By the time you start with a project report, it's all set in stone. By the time you finish, the whole ecosystem has changed. For doing infra, especially in places like Kerala, first question, do we have political alignment at the center, at the state and local governments? Do we have a culture of bipartisanship? Do we have community acceptance? Like Kochi LNG terminal, no community acceptance. Look at what's happened to it. Kudamkulam, another classic example. And of course, very important, are there end-of-term issues of government? In a state, if you do a project, at the end of that government's term, the new guys who are going to come in, especially if it's a reversal like in Kerala, have to be on board. Very, very important to do infra projects. And do we have buy-in by other stakeholders and local bodies? There are so many. I listed down the number of stakeholders in Kochi Metro. About 30-odd entities are there. You really need to bring them all on board. Are the people behind you? You know, this neighborhood effect I mentioned, you know, the adverse consequences in the doorstep, benefits far away. It's very important. So are the people behind you? And very, very important, does the community accept the purity of heart of the project implementing agencies? When I came, KMRL was mired in little local controversies. One thing, and the great thing about I don't claim any that I did the metro or anything, but one thing I'll be proud of till the day I die is the fact that we built a world-class organization here called KMRL. It's about 600 people now. It's a pan-India organization. I deliberately ensured that the Malayali content in that is limited. It's truly a national organization, and they kept the average age is only 32. It is the dynamism, the integrity, the vision and the passion of these kids which has made the metro happen, and these are the youngsters. When I see them, I know that this country is in very safe hands. This purity of heart of the implementing agency is so important in Kerala because the people are so discriminating. They will see through all falsehood and hypocrisy very fast. Then, of course, the land issue sorted out, very important. We had to acquire 600 parcels of land, prime areas from people, and by and large, they've been so good to us. I remember one poor guy came and said, this is the third time my land is being acquired. Very poor chap. I have nothing left after this, but I don't mind, sir, you take it, because at least the next generation will benefit. I still remember his name. Then this LARA Act, Kerala's projects are stuck because of the LARA. Other states have got their own specific legislation or enactments or pathways to acquire land. LARA has been made so devilishly complicated that we are once we do this Tripunithura Vaitala Peta thing, we will be the first agency in India to acquire land under LARA if we succeed. And that is the reason why progress has been so slow in going towards Tripunithura. So the land issue, if you don't sort out the land issue, you can't do infra in India. Then is the tariff regime very dynamic? Is it secured by popular consent? Kerala's got another disease. You do a toll model. After 1 year of tolling, the public will come and say no more tolls. So have you secured the tariff regime by law and also by popular consent? Do the people believe in this tariff model is very, very important. Then, of course, other emerging threats to the revenue streams of the project through new technologies, basically Uberization and Airbnbization, etc. Then, of course, project optics are so important. We were reaching out to the media and the public daily basis. Our Facebook page had 5 lakh hits a day and so on. So important that the people buy in not only into the outcomes but into the business processes. Every procurement of Kochi Metro has been videographed. I also wanted a walkthrough session where people come and see our files, but my staff dissuaded me from doing it. They said they'll only create mischief out of that. So that's a kind of transparency. You need to have glass walls to convince the people about the purity of your heart. Then, of course, media extensively to create feedback loops. We had this Metro Advisory Group. Some of you are members there who gave us, the wise men of Kochi gave us a lot of strategic advice. Then these green groups I mentioned have been giving us environmental advice. The reason why Kochi Metro has been a success so far has been the startup culture. We keep that dead governmental hand at bay. I keep saying the bane of government organizations is ageism and sexism. The MD is 60 years old, the director is 55 years old, the GM is 45. And any kind of energy or enthusiasm or new ideation coming from below is cut off. In Kochi Metro, you are valued only for the kind of value you add to the company. So the seniors in my company are a little upset a lot, because a lot of the energy, the youthful things, we deliberately have a startup culture, we have offsites, etc. All these ideas, the vertical gardens where we are using municipal compost to nourish them, etc. all came from these kids in my company, this bicycle sharing. The formation of bus companies is the work of one young boy about 32 years old. He went ahead and formed these buses of Cochin into 6 companies, vehicle tracking. All this is the work of the kids in my company. And that's so important to keep that ossified government touch at bay when you do infrastructure. And Kochi app will have a lot of facilities. You can pay your power, water bills, book your movie tickets, etc. It's all being added incrementally to it. All this stuff is going to come on our app. So, again, summarizing are we clear about the outcomes? Has the project report been subjected to a stress test? It's so important. Don't take that thing as gospel. Political acceptance, bipartisanship, credibility I mentioned, stakeholder alignment, a stable financing plan, assured future revenue security from the legal as well as the public point of view. Land question, environmental, what's the leadership like? Also important questions too, which we learned the hard way. So also we thought we'd use this metro as a vehicle for a number of other experiments. Again, the kids in my company, we loaded a lot of social objectives. Now metros, client-facing functions are given to these huge companies like Keolis and Veolia, which are European companies. They come and do the whole thing for you, cleaning, housekeeping, canteen, etc. We thought, why engage them? What will happen to these companies without dissing anybody is that after getting the thing, private companies have a tendency to lower the standards. They'll get somebody from some part of country where they'll work for a lesser wage, etc. So we thought of giving the thing straight away to Kudumbasri women. And they are so good. And the tragedy is that 50% of them are engineering graduates. And they come and work for us for 10 to 12,000 rupees a month. I asked some of these girls, they said it's better than working in a call center in Bangalore for twice that money. You have the respectability of Kochi Metro, you can commute from home, etc. They're outstanding. So some of you who travel in the metro have seen them in the uniforms. They are really the pride of Kochi Metro, including the transgenders. We've been having some issues with them. But the best thing is that they've worked fabulously, the ones who are remaining. The public have accepted them. Our colleagues and them, and they have bonded together. And what we planned was that other employers would come to us and say, hey, we'll also want to do it, and that's happening now. They come and ask me, how is it working? I say, it's fabulous. Then they say, we'll take them. And this is the first opportunity we have. If you're born in the wrong sex, what do you do? This is the first opportunity I think in Tamil Nadu police has also done it, to be fair. But we wanted to give them a place in the white space, and they're working so well now with us. Vertical gardens. Yeah, this is the number of trees we planted. 30,000 trees have been planted all along the city. Walkability, etc. You've seen most of this. And we are going to be the most literature-rich metro in the world. You've not seen anything yet. We are going to fill the metro system with literature, Malayalam, Indian, and a lot of foreign literature, because I believe, A, we are a very inward-looking race in Kerala. We keep glorifying ourselves. We are not so open to outside influences like we were in the 16th century and so on. And B, because Kochi should be a world tourism city. And the people who come into the city for tourism purposes don't understand Malayalam. So a lot of world stuff is going to come on our metro systems. We already also have a proposal for a metro village. It's a huge area on the right side of the railway track going to the airport. We are scared to take it up now because the realty market is so blunted. But at some point of time, it will become the hottest urban locale in Kerala, because you have the railways, you have the airport, you have the metro, and you have the city of Kochi. And the private owner can't use their land because of the Wetland Act. Even though it's not a wetland now, we arbitraged the Wetland Act, where there was a provision in the Act which says that for public purpose you can use it. So the land owner can't use it for anything else. He'll sell it to us for a reasonable price. We will use it for a public purpose, like generating money for the metro, and give him back a little bit of his land back to him. It's a lovely model, but we dare not venture into it now because it's it's a little we are scared to take it on. So he was 230 acres. Socrates. We also have the Socrates famous triple filter test on our metro. It's coming up next week. It says that if somebody comes and tells you something about your friend, use the 3 filters. What are the filters? 1, is it true? Then your friend will say, I'm not very sure. Is it useful? I'm not very sure about it. Is it good? I'm not very sure about it. Then don't listen to him. That's a triple filter test. And this is a lovely quote by Tolkien. Not all those who wander are lost. I'll close here. Thank you.